A few months ago at this point, I made a video on this channel called The Roadmap to Becoming a Game Developer in 2024. You may have seen it, I think it's got over 100,000 views at this point, and in that I give you a month-by-month plan of how am I going to make my game. And if you've been sticking to it, we're now early April, you should have a prototype that you are pretty happy with already and working towards building a Steam page. Now my question to you is, have you actually been able to follow that? Gonna be honest, I don't expect you to, because I know that these plans, they always something happens. Maybe something in your life changes, maybe you got a new job, maybe something happened with your family that you need to tend to, or maybe you just had a day where you didn't feel like working on your game and it just kept on dragging on from there. This is normal, things don't always go to plan, accept that. But I think it's also important that you don't get stuck in that rut of not working on your game. You had that energy to work on it like a few months ago, and now suddenly you can't seem to start your engine anymore and keep working your game. Progress doesn't feel like it's really happening anymore and you just get demotivated altogether. Basically, you're in a rut. Okay, so how do we get you out of here? Because that's really what I want to do in this video. The longer you're stuck in that rut, the harder it is to get out of it. And I'm going to give you my personal story here as well, not really related to game development, but the lessons stay true. A few months ago on this YouTube channel, I made a video about why you should go to the gym as a game developer to improve the games you make. And back then I was going 5-6 times a week to the gym, and I just kept going. And then one week I wasn't in my hometown anymore where I could go to my gym, I had all of my equipment, and basically my 4-month-long streak of going nearly every day just ended. And recently I have been working more on getting back to that point, but that's also why I wanted to make this video, because I know what it's like to be in that rut. Maybe it's not going to the gym for you, but it's game dev, in which case these lessons still work 100% guaranteed. And there is only one thing really that you can talk about. Of course, I have multiple points because I need to pad out this YouTube video, but if there is anything that you should know, it is that the next step, like the next time you start your engine, it's not to finish your game, it's just to do anything. It's just to do something. So what this means basically is you break things down into very small tasks. For me, when I went to the gym, I had to do, this sounds very dumb, but this is actually what I had to do. I had to ask myself like, hey, can I put on my gym clothes? Yeah, I can. It's like 1 minute of work. I just put them on and I'm done. Can I put in my earbuds and start putting on my gym playlist? Yeah, of course, it's easy. I love listening to Taylor Swift. Who doesn't? And then the question is, okay, can I now get into my car and go to the gym? And once I'm there, like, I'm there, I'm going to do something. But it's just, okay, making it very small steps. Instead, if you think of it like, hey, I need to go to the gym and immediately bench 80 kilos, or I need to open my Unity game and suddenly immediately implement my main mechanic, it's going to be too overwhelming because your brain already goes into like a defensive coping mode, because it's like, this is a hard task, I don't want to do it. So the first thing I would ask you here is, right now, even though you're watching this, can you start up Unity? If you're watching this on your phone, well, you can keep watching on your phone, but otherwise, if this is a problem you have, start up Unity or whatever engine you have already. And then think about, okay, what is a very, very small task that I can do? Maybe it's something like, oh, I need to update the button clicks in my menu. Or I can add some music because my game had been completely silent up until this point. Something extremely stupidly easy. You can do music in like 15 minutes if you want. Or something like having custom cursors instead of the default Windows cursor. Super easy stuff. The goal isn't to finish your game. The goal is just to do that first set, to do that first exercise. And once you've done that, you're back in the mood and you can continue your workout, or you can continue your game development session in this case. I'm going to take a guess that this video has like 8 to 10 minutes left, and you probably planned on watching this video start to finish instead of actually working on your game. So what I would really ask for you right now is, okay, you planned for 10 minutes to watch the rest of this video. How about you don't watch the rest of this video? You stop right now and you add some sound effects to your game. You add some button clicks, or you add a little animation where instead of your button just being static, it does like a little ploink. You add some feel to your game. Could you do that, and would that help more with your game's development? It may seem dumb, but I am certain it does. So I hope that future me looks at the stats of this video, and at this point in the retention graph, everyone basically drops off. That's what I would find a win. The most important thing, all the other things I'm going to talk in this video don't matter. If you can start up your engine right now and do anything and have that same mindset, basically every time you're planning on watching a video or our video or whatever, you do that. Instead of watching that video, you take that same time that you would have allotted to it to just make something small, and it's going to snowball up and you're going to be able to work more and more. Now, it takes some time. Like when I went to the gym once, it doesn't mean that suddenly the next day I could go 5 times a week. No, it's something that builds up, but it's something that you will get to eventually. Now, if you're coping and you don't want to do these quick wins, I still have a few other points to talk about, but none of them really matter as much as what I just discussed. So the question now, if you stayed here and it's not just, okay, I didn't really feel like starting my engine, I was scared of that big task, is what is the issue then? What are you scared of? What do you not like? Is it that Blender has been kicking your butt lately and you have no clue actually how to make assets that look good or how to make assets that are actually correctly rigged? Or have you realized that, hey, my coding skills are decent enough to just follow tutorials, but actually making an entire game, structuring all of the classes, I'm not really comfortable with it yet? If you don't know where the issue lies exactly, you can't work on correcting it. So really think about what is the one thing that is holding you back from working on your game and how can you solve it? If it is something like, hey, Blender is hard, then maybe look into things like just skipping Blender altogether and making a game purely using asset packs. You can do that. Your games can be great without using any asset packs. There are plenty of games on Steam that are overwhelmingly positive, 500 plus reviews using purely Cinti asset packs and like other systems. So don't be scared if you can't model everything yourself. That's not being a failure. That's called being smart and realizing that you are human and you are limited and just working around those limitations. And then the second thing is, did you plan your game well enough? This is a problem that we actually encountered with the game we're currently working on, Guild Architect, which is a game where you're like managing a fantasy adventure guild. We knew what the game was gonna be. It's like you manage the fantasy adventure guild, but we actually didn't make much progress programming wise, gameplay wise on that game because we didn't plan everything out well enough in the beginning. So we knew high level what we were gonna make, but when it actually came down to, okay, I'm gonna start my engine and work on the game, we kind of just flatlined a bit and we just diddled around doing some random stuff like, oh, making some windows or whatever, but we weren't really focusing on doing things like our core gameplay loop because we had never really actually planned it out. And because of that, it's much harder to get started with working because you don't know what you're going to work on. So if that's the thing, if you don't really know what is the next step for your game even, like which mechanic you should do, what is really core to the gameplay, really think about that, break it down into different issues, this is what we did, and then you can start working on it again. If you know what to do, it's much easier to get started to work again on that specific thing versus just opening your engine, staring at whatever game you already have, and then figuring out what should I do instead. And then the last thing, if you do have those smaller tasks already, you know what to work on, do something like time blocking. In your calendar, you're probably going to have empty slots and you're basically like, oh, these empty slots, I'll use that to develop on my game. But I think it's actually better to, first of all, use a calendar. And second of all, block in purposes of your day of like, hey, this hour, I'm going to be working on this specific mechanic. Plan for it like days in advance already. So that when it happens, when the time comes around, you won't be like tempted to just instead chill and scroll on your phone. Because once again, you're presented with multiple options of what to do. You can chill in the couch or you can work on your game, work on some random mechanic. What is your brain gonna choose? It's gonna choose for chilling in the couch. So instead, block in certain 1 hour time blocks where you're like, okay, now I'm going to work on the UI. Even though I hate UI, it still needs to happen. I'm just going to block it in my calendar, do that, and it's going to be much easier because you know, what am I going to work on? You don't have to fight yourself about, oh, I don't really know what I should do anymore. No, previous you made the decision for you. Now you just have to listen to previous you and you will be grateful for him because he has given you a direction to work on. So I hope these tips help you a bit already to get out of that rut, but really the most important part is just break things down, make them really small and just build momentum, build action, keep working on your game. Even if you have to force yourself to just do 5 to 10 minutes, start with that and it's going to get better from there. Don't do days where you do absolutely zero because you are going to be spiraling your game's development cycle out of control because you will never really feel like working on your game because it's like, oh, it's been a week already, I don't really remember what I was doing. And in the event, you're just going to start doubting your entire choice to become a game developer, which isn't really a great experience. So I hope you can really implement some of these things. If you're new here, we're game developers. We go through a lot of game dev issues. We talk about them on this channel. So if you're someone who wants to learn more about running a game dev studio, the issues that come along with it, be sure to head down below and subscribe, as it's a win-win for both of us. You get these videos twice a week, and I know that you like the content we're putting out. Anyways, that's all I had to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!